Alright, it's day 17 of not masturbating for me. Had a difficult time last night, so I thought I would start the day with my favorite drug, which is burning my own hair and huffing it. I feel so much better now. I had a rough night last night with not masturbating, and I ended up having to take a large dose of both melatonin and caffeine and a few other things just to help me stop to stop the urges to masturbate. Caffeine kind of helps because it also makes me pee a lot, and I find that I've been replacing masturbating with urinating. It's kind of weird how urinating can also give you a little bit of pleasure. But it's not nearly as sinful because everybody urinates, right? And so I wanted to stop doing that too because it feels like I'm just trying to cheat when I do that. It really does. But I was, I don't know why I had so much difficulty last night. I didn't see anything. Didn't see anybody. It had just been a very long time since I last masturbated. But if I push 2 more days, it will be the longest streak I've ever done. And I'll get to see how that feels. I was just remembering the last couple of times when I caved. Last time it was because I had a sick friend and I had some difficulties at work. But then I remembered that the not masturbating is really helping me problem solve at work. So for example, I work at a tutoring center, and some of the kids are sometimes not very open-minded to trying new things, or sometimes some of the kids have behavioral problems. So I was recalling how earlier this week I had one student who insisted on taking his favorite seat, but it was a very small classroom. We had just lost a number of students, and I really wanted to give everybody extra space, including myself. The desk that I'm using, there's hardly 1 or 2 feet of space before I run into the first row of students. To give you an idea how painful it got toward the end, I'm teaching SAT math, and I'm looking at the problems, and I'm looking, oh my god, you know, the next problem also requires me to write a lot of stuff on the board. You know, my feet are killing me, and I sometimes have to rearrange the order that I do the problems. Hey, this problem is kind of related to the next one. Why don't we do the next one? Because I know that problem has all the diagrams on the paper, and I can stay seated. And that's how painful it got, that I had to think about that in my head. And finally, I get some relief that we lose some of the students. And then one of the students doesn't want to change his seat. And so unfortunately, very narrow-minded. He says he's okay sitting there. I'm thinking to myself, I'm not okay. And so I had to be a little bit more forceful than I wanted to be. Let's put it that way. I really love our students so much that sometimes that was not a very pleasant thing to do. Now, 6 months ago, I was working at a different tutoring center, and we had one student who was just very hyper sometimes, to put less bluntly. Always talking, always laughing, always distracted. And so we decide to put him in a different area in the room where he doesn't have all this visual stimuli to get distracted about. And one day he puts his head through a bunch of cabinets to look at something on the other side of the classroom. It was just really spooky the way his head stuck out of the furniture. It didn't really bother me, but I sometimes I like to play God a little bit too much in the classroom. I told him that if he did that again, I was going to rip all his reward sheets. They have these reward points that they could then redeem for prizes. And he had about 40 reward cards on his filled out on his paper. And so I was gonna, next time he puts his head through the furniture, I'm going to take away his rewards. And so he comes in the next day. He wants to sit with everybody else where I know he's going to get distracted. And I said, you remember when you sat here, you hardly got anything done, right? Do you want to sit over there so you can focus and get your rewards? And just put a positive spin on it. And he says, well, what if I stick my head in the furniture? And I told him, well, you know what happens if you do that. And so he went about 40 minutes without putting his head in the furniture. I thought he was going to make it the whole day and do very well. And then finally, at the end of the class, he sticks his head through the furniture and says, look at me! And I run over to his desk and I pick up his reward sheets and I rip them into a million pieces, and then he screamed. And I was, personally, I probably decided that, you know, I instead of actually solving the problem, I'm just gonna play with him because I'm gonna go home and masturbate, and all's gonna be good. Or when I can't masturbate, I actually have to think about bringing all of this to a soft landing and being able to go home in peace, right? So it's really helped me to actually problem solve instead of just being one of those people who makes a scene, right? Anyway, 17 days now, but yesterday when I was tempted to cave, I remembered all the benefits that I've had these last few weeks compared to 6 months earlier when I was making a fool of myself at work. Thanks for watching.